Coming to you from the Paranormal Warehouse, Destination Mystery paints the story for paranormal content, abnormal adventures, and the fun behind the investigations. Each week, Mike and Melissa will bring a new adventure that includes going to some of the most remote places in the West. They will tell the story behind the investigation and share with you the evidence they discover. This is not your regular paranormal show. These episodes will bring new content from locations that no one would think to investigate or explore. We will not only tell the spooky story, we will go to the location where the spooky story originated. Fasten your seatbelts as we take you on an adventure that will make you question what's normal and what's paranormal. So we wanted to just start off by thanking everybody for joining us today. And then we've got 3 sponsors that we'd like to thank. We've got Cache Valley Endocrine and Family Medicine. We've got the Idaho Falls Plumbing Company and Idaho Falls Diesel. They're all local companies between where Mike and I live. And we've used all 3 of these companies, and we can verify that they offer phenomenal services. Wouldn't you agree, Mike?
Absolutely.
And we will have some commercials from them as we get going. We do still have some sponsor spots available, and if you're interested in that, you can go to destination-mystery.com, and there will be a link on there where you can contact us. Mike, why don't you start introducing yourself while I try and get my computer back up and rolling again, and then I'll start on mine.
All right. Welcome. Bear with us. Neither one of us are good at speaking publicly or privately, for that matter. Words are hard, like we keep saying. I go by the name Paranormal Treasure Hunter because I do like the paranormal, especially Bigfoot. And I do like treasure hunting and reading about old treasure hunting stories, old stagecoach robberies and stuff like that. And one of these episodes that we'll be doing, that title more or less found us. We were doing an investigation in an area, and anyway, it's a good story, but we're going to talk more about that one later. But it kind of chose us by the outcome of that investigation. Bigfooting, we call everything we do outdoors Bigfooting, because even if we're camping, hiking, walking, we're always looking for Bigfoot just for fun. Do you want me to go on with that story about college, or are you ready to do yours?
Yeah, no, go ahead. I'll jump in when you're done.
We have a couple of stories from college time that kind of got me interested in this in the first place. When we went to college, we didn't want to live in traditional housing, so me and my brother and some friends of ours got a house, which actually our neighbor owned, and he came and lived with us too. His aunt owned it before that, or lived in it. Maybe it's his grandpa that owned it, but she eventually got taken away to the mental hospital. And so it sat vacant for, I really don't know how long, but when we opened the doors to go in, this place was infested with hobo spiders. We finally just got a shop vac and started sucking those things up. They were everywhere. And we moved in, and luckily nobody got bit, but we had multiple experiences there. One time I had a friend of mine, she was typing a report because I can't type, and I was working nights and I was kind of tired, so I was laying on the bed while she was typing, and I felt somebody sit down beside me, and it kind of rolled me towards them, and I looked over and nobody was there, but you could see where somebody was sitting on the bed. And it kind of surprised me because I thought it was a girl that was typing. And I said something, and it got up and left, and the print was gone. And then another time, and this one happened multiple times, but we'd see this hairy, blurry, I don't know what you'd call it, going around the house, especially late at night, coming down the stairs or coming through the kitchen. I was unlucky enough to sleep in the basement, which is where all the weird stuff happened. That is where this friend of ours, aunt, said she saw people that would live in the basement and kind of haunt her a little bit. But we saw that, or I saw that multiple times. And then the last one, my fiance at the time called me just as I was walking in the house, and I heard the receiver pick up downstairs, and I didn't think anybody was home. So I started to go look, and the back door just slams against the wall as it opened, and but I never saw anybody. So we had several weird things happen there, and I wondered why that house and not other houses I've been in. We had a roommate that kind of got into some bad stuff, watching bad movies and doing stuff on the computer that was inappropriate. Did that bring it in? Was it already there? Would it exist there before we moved in? Why then? Why us? I've always been curious about that because I haven't had many experiences in other places except for that one. The only other one is when I first got married, my wife owned a cabin up in Island Park, and we go there, and it's 2 levels, and we'd stay on the second floor, 3rd bedroom, and at nights we'd hear doors open and close, footsteps all the time, but we never saw anything. And one time my wife's aunt was there. She walked up the stairs and just came barreling down, kind of screamed, "What's wrong? What happened?" And she said, "Something just told me to get out." And then my wife's grandpa saw somebody in the mirror, and it kind of scared him because he's a no-nonsense kind of guy. Just weird things. And the last one is Melissa's husband, Chris, and I were up there working in Island Park. So we stayed the night there, and we watched a really scary movie. It scared the crap out of us. But when I went out to the car to get something threw a piece of wood from our wood pile over the creek, and it hit me in the leg. And I thought it was him playing a joke on me, but he was inside the house. So again, somebody did die in that house, but is that what's haunting us? Why that place? Why not the neighbors? Or why not? Why us? Why then? Those are kind of the things that I've been curious about. And with that story about the dark, hairy, blurry being, whatever it was, and the spiders, another guy by the name of John, who we met recently, told me another story about a blurry, hairy being and lots of spiders around his baby's crib, wasn't it? Anyway, it was eerily similar to the one that I experienced. So, just wonder if there's something to that. Are they? Do they hang out? Do spirits hang out in old buildings, cemeteries? Why there? I think in better places to hang out if I was trapped. Are they trapped? Are they lost? Are they just wandering? We've never studied anything about this. We've just experienced some few things and went out to investigate on our own and see what we could learn. Is it possible to communicate with them? Why at times we can and other times we can't? These are some of the questions we sought out to find answers to, and we found some pretty compelling answers to some of these things. That's why we started this, is we're excited to share them with you and see what you think. So, Melissa?
I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about how I got started being interested in the paranormal, and I have always been interested ever since I can remember. I don't know if there's a particular time when it all started. If it was just something to do with my upbringing, or if I just have this curious nature that I love a good mystery. Anything that I can try and solve. is fascinating to me. But I remember my very first paranormal experience happened when I was about 9 years old. My brother Steve and I were riding bikes around our grandma's house, which was just, I don't know, a few yards up the road, not very far. And we were riding around, and my mom used to honk this horn out the back door when it was time for us to come home.
Bicycle
And,
bugle.
yeah.
Wah, 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 wah.
So we could just basically play, as long as we wanted to until we heard that horn honk, and then we better hightail it home. So Steve and I were riding our bikes around my grandma's house, and I heard the horn. And so I remember Steve being in front of me, and I saw, like, I don't even know how to explain this, but I was riding my bike. I was riding around the side of the house, and I saw this little kid peek around the corner of the house, and I thought it was Steve. So I rode my bike around to the side of the house, and this was like a matter of seconds, maybe 2 seconds, and nobody was there. And I looked down the road, and Steve was already at the bottom of the driveway. And so then I kind of got spooked, because I was like, wait a minute, now that I think about it, that wasn't Steve. It was a little boy in overalls and a baseball cap. And he probably would have been 4 or 5 maybe. And at the time, Steve would have been like 8-ish. And it spooked me. And so I rode my bike home as fast as I could. But when I got home, I remember asking Steve if he saw this little boy, and he's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And I said, well, I came to find you after Mom honked the horn. And he's like, I came back as soon as I heard the horn the first time, and then you hadn't come back yet. And so Mom honked the horn again, and I was on my way back up the road to come find you. So I had been playing with some little boy for 5 minutes, maybe a little bit more, and hadn't even really realized it. I was just riding my bike around. And we live out in the country, so it wasn't like there were a bunch of houses around and it could have been just some little neighborhood boy. We didn't have any neighbors at all that were close, and especially none with little boys. So to this day, I still wonder who that little boy was and why he was there. So that was my very first paranormal experience that I can remember. I do know that growing up, so our father passed away when we were little. I was 2 years old, and I remember waking up at night and hearing footsteps in the hall, or going downstairs and hearing banging, and not
Why we were
knowing.
scared of the basement?
Yeah, I was always scared of the basement, and I know Steve was too. I don't know about the older kids, you and our older 2 siblings, but I was always scared to go downstairs. And you'd be upstairs and you'd hear some banging and stuff going on downstairs, and we would tell our mom, I'm not going down there, because our storage room used to be down there, and she'd ask us to go get something out of the storage room, and I never wanted to go by myself because I was scared. But she would make us go down anyway. But one day she heard
She was scared too.
Yeah, she heard the banging, and she was like, okay, I don't think that she would just blame it as being the cat or rats or something in the walls, but she's like, yeah, I don't think that's a cat. And I remember we all had gotten our weapons, our baseball bats and whatever we could find, and we all went down there together to see what we could find, and we couldn't find anything. We had no idea where the noise was coming from. But the older I got, I kind of wondered if it was our dad, not in the house to try and haunt us or scare us necessarily, but at night when I hear the footsteps, I think possibly he was just checking on us, making sure we were all safe and everything was okay. He also had a man cave type room downstairs where he used to keep all of his treasures, and he had a dark room where he developed pictures and stuff. And I know he spent a lot of time down there, and I wonder if that was just him, banging around in his little man cave. I don't know for sure, but that was a thought that had come into my mind as I got older. Because we did have so many weird things happen at that house that I remember. I don't know if you remember any of them. Things would get moved. And, at the time I thought it was kind of scary because I didn't know what it was. But looking back on it now, I actually think probably I should have been more comforted by it, knowing that he was there watching over us. That's how I feel. I don't ever remember I was scared because I didn't know what it was, but it wasn't like anything was intentionally trying to scare us. So I think that was a lot of the reason why I kind of wanted to seek and find answers. But too, growing up, we had an uncle that was the town mortician, and he always had some amazing stories when it came to life after death and knowing what. Sorry, I'm trying to do two things at once here, but I can't keep my train of thought. But he was always very respectful of death and dying, and he had
people's beliefs.
His beliefs were very strong. He knew that there was life after death. He felt like wherever you go after you die is a peaceful, nice place, and a lot of those beliefs rubbed off on me. He just did a very good job of taking care of the families and comforting people when death occurred. That was kind of what he did well. And I spent a lot of time over there as a kid. His daughter was my best friend, and so I think a lot of that rubbed off on me. And the other thing too was our uncle was a town sheriff in Utah County here, and he had a lot of UFO stories. And if I don't know if any of you know or are aware, but in the 50s in Utah, there was just a whole string of UFO activity that happened, and nobody could quite explain it, but everybody that lived in this county had a story. And I remember listening to those stories as a kid, and it fascinated me. And I have been just interested in UFOs and all of that ever since. And I want to know what they are, and I just want to know what they are. And anyway, so a lot of those things I think kind of help contribute to our fascination. And the other thing is our father was had an adventurous spirit. He was actually a history teacher. And so he enjoyed exploring and history. And I think that Mike and I have gotten a lot of that from him. It's like we just have to get out and explore things. If there's an abandoned house somewhere, I need to know what's in. I want to look at that house. And I just love to do that kind of stuff. And, now the school that he taught in is closed and it's no longer being used as a school, but it has been known to have some paranormal activity. And you had an experience in there, didn't you, Mike?
I did. There's a second floor on it, but it's only over part of the school. I had forgotten about that till just now. But the first time I've been in there since I was a small child, we were the only group of people in there. We were using the cafeteria kitchen, having a little get together, and we were exploring the hallways. And I heard the little kids, my kids and our neighbors' kids, whoever they were going to go up the stairs. So I ran around up the other side of the stairwell, and I hid in the classroom. And I was hiding behind the door, and I was going to scare them. It was pretty creepy. And I could hear two kids coming down the hallway. I could hear their footprints. I could hear them, or steps. I could hear them talking. And they were to the right of me. And I heard them pass the doorway. And then I could hear them to the left of me. But I stood there and was watching through the doorway. And I never did see them. But I heard them go from the right to the left. And never saw anything. But I could certainly hear them. So I ran back downstairs and said, "Who was up there?" "Oh, we got too scared and we didn't ever go up." That was kind of interesting. but it was two people talking back and forth.
And we've been trying to get into that building for a while now so that we can do some investigating. Hopefully we'll be able to find somebody that'll let us in.
It has a bomb shelter underneath it, which I would love to see. And the janitors from that particular school, it's now some kind of offices, but they have all sorts of stories about they won't go in there after dark or at night to clean. Let's just put it that way.
Have they ever told you what they heard, or?
Yes, and I should have wrote it down because I can't remember.
I'm just curious to know if they heard little children like you did. I'm sure they did.
They did.
I'm sure that's what it is.
And sometimes there's some gates that they've made that go across some of the openings they can't lock up. And one of them told my daughters that when those gates started shaking, my niece was working there, and she's like, "Why are those gates shaking? What is that? It sounds like the gate's shaking." It's like, yeah, they are. Whenever some kids hide in here that aren't supposed to be in here, whoever is living here, whoever ghost is present, lets them know by shaking the gates. That's what the cleaning lady said. And sure enough, every time we go look, when we hear those gates shaking, we find some kids hiding.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And I have little paranormal experiences here and there, and I've forgotten a lot of them, but I currently work in a really old building that has some paranormal activity, and we've had lights turn on and off without anybody being in the room. We've had doors close. We had one of my coworkers had an experience where he was there late at night, and he heard somebody shut the door and come down the hall, and they walked past his office, and he was like, thinking it was like the janitor, someone coming in to clean. He's like, "Hey, don't lock up. I'll be out of here in a minute and I'll lock up. So don't worry about any of that." And then he waited for a minute, and he's like, "Wait a minute, like nobody walked out. Nobody went through the outside door to leave." So we got up and walked around the office building, and there was nobody there. And if they had left out that back door, you would have heard it close because it's a strong, heavy door. So, and I've actually been in the bathroom where the toilet right next to me flushed on its own, which scared me. And I remember getting up to like check it out, and I physically saw the handle push down. It was one of those old toilets that I don't know how to explain how it flushed on its own, but needless to say, I use the other bathroom from now on when I have to go. But just little things like that have happened here and there, and I think our curious nature and our love of exploring have gotten us into where we just want to find some answers and want to learn. So we're actually live on my Facebook page, it looks like, not on the Paranormal Warehouse. And I do have a couple of people tuning in. Well, our sister actually tuned in, and she said, "I sleep downstairs now, and I feel things that I can't see bump into my bed all of the time." So she lives in the home that we grew up in now, and downstairs is where we used to all be scared when we were little. So that's interesting. I didn't know that. If anybody else has any comments in there on our Facebook page, I can see them now. So feel free to chime in.
That uncle that owned the mortician got me my first job in a cemetery.
Oh, yeah. I was going to mention that, too.
I don't have any real ghost stories from there, but I used to mow the lawns, and when our grave would collapse, I'd dig up the grass and put dirt in it. These are really old coffins, so sometimes all the water would collapse them, so we'd have to dig up the grass and smash the dirt down, bring some more dirt in, put the grass back. And on more than one occasion, one time my lawnmower fell through. It was a riding lawnmower, and I had to pull it out of the hole and then fix it. And one time I was walking, and between the coffin and where they dug was really loose, and I fell all the way through. And when I pulled my leg out, my shoe was still down there. So I had to fish it out, and was hoping I didn't get a skull or something, because that'd have been a little weird. But one of my favorite things to do was I used to dig graves there as well, and I'd put a green astroturf over it. And once or twice I brought some friends along to move pipe at night, and I'd walk them across there, and they'd fall a little bit. And probably not the right thing to do, but it was awfully funny.
I remember sometimes we would go out there late at night to help you move pipe. And one time, I don't know if you remember this, but there's a big white headstone, and it was like glowing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it seems to move. It looks like a lady in a white dress.
Yeah.
Is that the one you're talking about?
Mm-hmm. It was like kind of right in the center of the cemetery, but more towards I guess if you were walking up the road, it'd be towards the left, very end. And I remember that glowing, and it kind of freaked me out a little bit, because I didn't know how to explain the glow. I mean, the moon didn't make all the other headstones glow. So that was a little bit strange.
That was a little freaky.
I know I have a lot more experiences, but I'd like to save a lot of them for our upcoming episodes. So if there aren't any other questions, Michael, do you want to talk about anything before we sign off, or?
Like she said, we've had a lot of experiences, a lot of interesting things. I get houses ready to sell or rent. I'm a hands-on. I like to see how things work. I want to know why and how. I used to go with my grandpa to the dump. We call it the swap meet, because I'd usually bring home a TV or a sewing machine. I'd tear it all apart and put it back together, because I like to know why. Why does that work? How does it work? And so when we've seen some of the things, that's what's got me curious, is why here? Why this house? Why this experience? Is it negative energy we've brought in? Is it already existing there? Is it everywhere and it's only allowed out at certain times? That's kind of the questions we want to know the answers to. So this just started out as having fun, because we like to go out in the woods, ride four-wheelers, find old buildings, find mine shafts, find whatever, and check it out. It's our favorite thing to do. I go to work so that I can do those on the weekend. Mm-hmm. And it gets me through the work week. But we want to know what it is, what's going on. And so what we decided to do is, we hear lots of stories, and we could tell stories all day long, but we're going to pick a place or a story. For example, next week is about
we're going to talk about a government cave, a murderer.
Yeah, the murderer in a cave that I've been looking for 20 years and finally found it. So we're going to take the story and talk about the story. And then we went to the cave, and we're going to talk about what we found, what we heard, stuff. Some places there's stuff written on the walls that correspond with what we've heard or correspond with the story. So each week will be a different topic, a different location. So not only will we have a story, we've been there, done that. So we're excited to share some of those experiences with you. Some really cool stuff on thermal imagers, some really cool recordings. I don't know what it is, but it's very interesting.
And part of the background on our name, Destination Mystery, two things. One of them is, when we go out on an investigation or an adventure, we honestly don't ever know what we're going to find. Oftentimes we'll hear the story and do our research, hear the history ahead of time, and we think we're going to learn and find out one thing, but then end up finding and learning something totally different than what we had originally thought we would. And so it's always a mystery as to what we're going to discover, what we're going to learn about. For example, we went to a haunted prison thinking we were going to be able to communicate with some of the prisoners, some of the notorious prisoners that seemed to have a pretty heavy presence there with other investigators. And we were actually able to communicate with some not so well-known prisoners. So that's kind of a mystery. And then the other thing is, we don't always like to disclose the location of where we're going. A lot of times the location is on private property, and we don't want, of course, we always get permission before we go there, but the owners don't like a lot of people to bug them or trespass on their land. And we've also had a lot of experience where we've gone somewhere, we go back, and the place is completely destroyed. There's graffiti everywhere. They've just ruined things, or they've, caves, for example, where they've closed them up because too many people go in there and cause trouble. And so a lot of the locations that we go to are extremely remote. A lot of people don't know about them. There aren't a lot of well-known
signs
facts
or
about
maps.
Yeah. And so we want to kind of keep those that way. Not saying that any of you will go in and destroy these places, but there are people that will, and we want to be able to preserve the history and keep these places around and open for those who do enjoy them and can be responsible about going into them. Did I say that? Okay.
I think so.
Do you have anything to add? I know you found an article once about someone who had posted 10 great things to do in a cave.
This person, I could posted 10 fun things to do in a cave. First one was draw on the walls with chalk. Second one was get glow sticks and have a glow stick war. And that cave, there are so many damn glow sticks on the floor that you're not walking on rock. It's glow sticks. Why would you do something like that? One thing about social media I really hate is they give a location out. One person a year goes there, then all of a sudden you can't get in because there's so many people. If they take care of it, I wouldn't mind so much. But I see kids going in there with paint cans on a date and painting. I mean, why would you go on a date with somebody who would do that? Why would you be dumb enough to put your name and phone number on the wall?
For your Instagram.
Or if I was a cop, I'd be busting every one of them. But anyway, that's my rant.
Yeah,
please take care of things so we can continue to go to them. Yes,
we all like to go to locations and be able to do our thing, but let's be respectful and remember that there's pieces of history that we need to preserve, and going in there and destroying them is really not okay. Another thing about our adventures is, there's a lot of paranormal groups that go out there and they go to the same location over and over and over. Their finds are basically the same, but our goal is to find paranormal activity wherever we go, to kind of go to some places that maybe you wouldn't expect paranormal activity, or maybe nobody's heard about, and being able to show you what we have been able to capture at those places.
One of our best sessions was in a place that I never would have guessed we would have activity there, and holy crap, I never would have guessed it. And this was one that part of the mystery is we don't even necessarily know where we're going that day. There's supposed to be a cave or something out here. Let's go see if we can find it. And we found a lot of cool stuff that way. And one of our best sessions was, I never would have guessed that. So we're excited to share that one too.
Yeah, we've got a lot of exciting adventures to share with you. Some of these, like I said, will be in places that people know about and are aware of and have been there to investigate. But most of them are going to be new places that you probably have never heard of or would have thought that there would be any paranormal activity. But we've got some good evidence to share with you. We have some good stories to share with you, some good tips for investigating. I had mentioned earlier the group Paranormal Teens. They are mostly comprised of our children that come on all of our adventures with us, and their goal is to teach responsible investigating techniques and responsible exploring techniques. For example, you don't take a spray can out somewhere and write the F-bomb all over the place. So those are some of their goals, and they've got a really good Instagram feed. Sierra is the president. She does a great job, and we have a lot of fun together. Whoever can come with us when we're able to go on these adventures comes. And I find too that I know a lot of people are not open to the idea of having younger children or teenagers come with them because they're afraid of what may be there. But I truly feel that for the majority of the places that, or the majority of the activity that you get, it's not a negative type of experience. I think these kids are able to say, oh, there is life after death. Life goes on. The veil is thin. It's a
Ghosts
good,
don't have to be scary.
no. And I think you can truly control what you allow into your space and what you don't. And because the paranormal is so prevalent and it's everywhere that we are, whether you want to admit it or not, whether you want to believe it or not, there are so many things in this world that we can't understand that we want to be able to figure out. And I think being able to go out and have an open mind with our kids and have fun together as a family is important. There's no need to be scared. And of course, there are some things that have scared us, but we've been able to work through that and come up with ways to kind of get over that. And I mean, I've never really had anything negative follow me home. And I know a lot of people worry about that. I have not had that yet. But there are, like I said, there are some techniques and stuff that we use that I think help with that. And we are going to be a family show. So your kids, your teenagers, everybody's welcome to join in and comment and whatever. Do you have anything to add on that, Mike?
No. Just all part of it is I don't want my kids walking around being scared of everything. They've gone to some places that I can't get adults to go into. So maybe it's good to not be scared. Maybe it is good to be scared. I don't know, but
or maybe to overcome your fear.
Yeah. Not that I'm going to go into a snake pit anytime soon, but
I won't be anywhere where there's spiders.
What was my train of thought? Oh,
we lose our train of thought a lot.
It derails a lot.
We're old.
I think some of our success may be because there are young people there. So is the ghost just as scared of us, or ghost entity, whatever you want to call it, spirit? Is it more scared of us than we are of them? Are they more open to one of these sessions where the little girl was talking? Maybe it was because there was other kids her age there.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of it too. We're able to pick up on a lot of things that maybe other groups haven't been able to, just because we have all ages, all genders, all groups with us. So maybe the spirit is finding someone that they feel comfortable with to communicate with. And I think we have a lot of success that way. And we never force our kids to go. They're always itching to go, by the way. They want to go.
There's a couple times they ran out of the room or area, but I think it was their own imagination.
Yeah, well, it is about time to close up. And this is on this is on Destination Mysteries Facebook page right now. Instead of the Paranormal Warehouse, I clicked Paranormal Warehouse, so I'm not sure why it didn't go on there. Hopefully next week we'll have everything good. It'll go a little bit smoother, and and maybe I won't freeze up when I talk, and we'll have a better experience next time, I hope. But we do have a really exciting story to share with you and some really great paranormal experiences to share with you.
I'm going to tell them what it is. Is that okay?
Yeah.
We talked a little bit about it, but this one I've been researching for quite a while. But they've just recently found more development on it about a body that was found in a cave near here, and the history was he was a bank robber or a murderer, axe murderer is what he was. I mix up a few of them, but we're really excited to show this to you. It took me a long time to find the cave, and recently there's been some information. I think you'll find it very fascinating. What I did.
It's a good story, and we've waited for a year to be able to share it, maybe.
Yeah.
So it's a fun story, and not very many people know about it. So.
And it's a true story.
And it'll be fun to hear something new. I think not the same stories over and over again. And
we'll show you some pictures of the actual cave and some of the evidence that was collected. So.
Yes, and we each have. I have a cause that I'd like to support with each episode. My background is in human development and psychology, and being able to promote mental health and is something that I find pretty valuable. And I just wanted to put out there that if you are having problems with depression or anxiety or having suicidal thoughts, that there is help and that you're not alone. You can call the Suicide Prevention Hotline at 1-800-273-8255. There's also a chat line that you can go onto if you're not comfortable talking with somebody. You can find that at suicidepreventionlifeline.org/chat. There are a lot of different resources on their website. It's suicidepreventionlifeline.org. They have specific information for Native Americans, for veterans, for youth, for disaster survivors, loss survivors, the LGBTQ community, attempted survivors. So they've got a lot of different information on there that's really quite helpful. They have people that are there to listen and talk to you. And they also have resources for those who don't speak English very well and those who are hard of hearing, who need special help there too. So I just encourage everybody to take care of their mental health well-being, and if you have any questions about that, feel free to contact us. You can find us at destination-mystery.com. On that page, you'll find a link for merch like this. We've got some pretty cool merch. Everywhere I go that I wear my hoodies or hats or whatever, people always ask me where I got it. So that's where you can get it. You can also email us from that webpage. You can find our YouTube channel, our Instagram, our Facebook. And if you have any questions, like I said, feel free to email us and somebody will get back to you. We also have some more spots open for sponsors if you're interested in that. And anything else, Mike?
Not at this time.
Okay.
I don't think. I think we're running out of time, but.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for tuning in for anybody who did. And we look forward to our episode next week. And squatch on.
Keep it weird.
Keep it weird. Squatch on. Thanks. We'll talk to you next week.
All right.